And so what do you think of this handsome guy, Mr. Mitt Romney, that is? He is a prominent Republican that has kind of stayed behind the scenes all this time. Maybe it's a good thing. And also, it might be a good thing that I know little about him. Not bad, not good, not anything. His history is he was born in 1949. It makes him relatively young. Uh, and he's a baby boomer, which are usually the the fellows that came up with the really innovative changes. Don't forget the 60s when the baby boomers were becoming politically aware, and they changed many things, including civil rights. However, I wanted to look at his chart because we have an exciting election coming up. I don't know anything about him, so I could be more objective. This is brought to you by FYI Sahara, and I hope to bring a fresh view on the upcoming elections. And for the subscribers, I hope you enjoyed my piece on the 9/11/2001 charts and theories of well, I really think the charts show what happened clearly. But we're going to move, if you are a subscriber and you did not get that video, please send me an email or subscribe, and I'll be glad to share it with you. It's eye-opening. So here is Mr. Mitt's chart. He is a Pisces, my favorite sign. Because he is born in a northerly location, this is his midheaven. If you were to go out the side at the moment of his birth and look straight up, you'd see Venus, goddess of love and beauty. And it is in Aquarius, which they love. They love humanity, all things that help people as a whole. The typical Aquarian, profile. Not all Aquarians are totally into helping humanity. There's the evolved Aquarian and the less evolved Aquarian that says, me first. I think that's true for a lot of signs. Pisces in the 11th house is about the best you can get as far as far seeing. And I would say he probably won't say anything. This is somebody that's had a lot of metaphysical experiences. This is like seeing flying saucers or deja vu incidences, being in an accident and having an outer body experience, and being psychic, having an inner voice. But people like this keep it to themselves or in a closed circle. And certainly if he is a Republican, well, I guess I don't need to say any more. You just keep your mouth shut. And it's harder to, why it's there, it's harder to express it. He's been very successful in business, and he wanted to follow in his father's footsteps, a successful politician. I believe it was in Detroit. I'm not sure of the exact history of his father, but he idolized his father. That I know. So he's Pisces, I believe. The key word for Pisces is I believe. The problem with Pisces is they are gullible, and it's just a problem with the Pisces. They believe the wrong people sometimes. And his Gemini rising, this gives a quick wit and a love for learning. Oh, did I mention his Scorpio moon? How could I forget? and it is conjunct Jupiter. This is what has made him so successful. He's been able to use his intuition. It's I'm surprised if he doesn't have a Doctor of Divinity like Al Gore, because this is a very spiritual person. However, that can be taken too far if you're a fundamentalist and you want to control other people. That's not good. But I suspect he has a deep religious oh, that's right, I forgot. He was a Mormon missionary in Europe. Whoops, sorry. That's part of his past. That's meant a lot to him. He was in a terrible accident as a young man in Europe, and he spent many years having to recuperate painfully. And some of the young people in, I think, a Volkswagen were killed, and he had to use his faith to get through the painful recuperation. And so, yes, his faith has played a large part of his uh, life, and it's been important to him. So, now the question is, as opposed to going over Lucky Mitt, because he has been just plain old lucky. Let me show you this Venus on the midheaven, goddess of love and beauty. They also love money. And Marilyn Monroe had a moon in this sign. And she's the one that sang, "Diamonds are a girl's best friend." They would have gotten along because he has Gemini rising. She was a Gemini. So here we have, you're blessed with this aspect. And you love to read, talk, and orate. And you have a deep sense of life. Deeper, you go below the surface. Hello, Scorpio. But I'm not going to go into an analysis, as interesting as it is. I wanted to look for two things to see if he was going to be a contender in the elections, if he decides to run against Donald Trump. Or he might just decide, no, he wouldn't just, never mind, jumping in the crowd that is running for the Democrats, forget it. He has a better chance as a Republican. And he has a better track record than most of them. Most of them are dirty, dirty, dirty. He has a cleaner, much cleaner record. And compared to what we're seeing now, he's sparkling clean. When he smiles, his teeth shine in the camera. So here I want to see this. This is descendant, what you stand on. This is very important, and he is much more serious than that handsome gadfly that he appears to be. Saturn retrograde is not going to help, and I wanted to look and see if with the secondary progressions it had gone direct. As I mentioned in my last video, I had Saturn retrograde on my life, and just a couple years ago it decided to go direct, and I could feel it. A weight lifted. There were several things that clued me in to he has an amazingly excellent chance of winning. And I've done several of the Democratic candidates, and I've not seen anybody as sparkling as this guy. Well, of course, I am a Democrat. This is his secondary progressed sun. What does that mean? Well, if you're not an astrologer, it means nothing. However, the sun just went over his Gemini ascendant. That is, you win, period. I know I had the sun go over my ascendant, and it was my happiest time. So, let me tell you, it doesn't always happen in anybody's lifetime. So here's once in a life, beyond once in a lifetime. You have, and the one thing I was looking for in the progressions was, did his Saturn go direct? some of these little stickers go retrograde sometimes, and when you're born with it retrograde, you have to work on that one area. Here we have Saturn going direct in the progressions. This is retrograde, this direct. I hope that you can see the difference in the markings. This is little r standing for retrograde. But that's not all. The transits show a lot more, as well as the solar arc progressions. Besides your sun going over your ascendant in the secondary progressions, solar arc, Jupiter, comes up to conjunct his midheaven. That's it. You've won. This is you've won. Now we have to convince Mr. Mitt to run. He has not declared his candidacy, but I feel that he is close. How's he going to win if he doesn't enter? And this is somebody who wins. Everything's beautiful here with the moon, which means a change. Mr. Moon always means a change, and especially here. You're going to change something, like your whole life, for instance. So you have this gigantic change. They're conjuncting beautiful, glorious Venus, who brings wonderful things, and Jupiter, the great beneficent. So, you know, it actually gets better. When you look at the transits, if you know a little bit about astrology, you at least know the transits, that planets are moving in the heavens right now as we speak. By the election of when the swearing in, the election in November 3rd, and the swearing in January 20th, Jupiter is, this is a different Jupiter. This is the transit. We looked at his solar arc. They're different. You've got to consider them completely different. But in this case, they're showing the same thing. Jupiter is going into his 10th house. And so you have the same amount of luck here. This is always, if you're not a politician, this is when you get the promotion, you marry Mr. and Mrs. Right, get that new car. This is, you graduate. This is the highlight of your life. So, with this in mind, I don't want to go into, you can see the charts hold a whole lot. Number one, he's lucky. Number two, he's a great orator. Number three, he has more sensitivity than you can possibly imagine. And he has a great sense of right and wrong. And which, hello, the Republicans could use that. Maybe that's why Mr. Lucky Mitt has stayed away from politics lately. He probably didn't like to see what he wanted to be involved in that dirt and the mess that we've seen. So we'll have to wait. He's got everything to win. And so we have to wait for Mr. Mitt to decide to win. As an astrologer, I would say, yeah, he's going to enter the race. That would be, this is what he's destined to enter and do, and make his mark here. Of course, you can't always predict exactly who will win, but if he goes in as a Republican, he will win. I can say that. It's up to Mr. Mitt to make the next move. So subscribe. I have more. I have Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Mayor Pete, Kamala Harris. The people that are running are spectacular. And you might note the premonition and the charts that I did earlier, predicting that someone like Alexandria Cortez was going to step to the forefront of our political scene. Also, I guess this was last year, I predicted a uh, awesome black woman would rise from the South and surprise everybody. Which, you don't expect that from Georgia. So, what do we get? Beautiful Stacey Abrams. So, those are two surprises that were predicted via my dreams and my charts. And I just hope this enlightens and gives hope. There is amazing good hope on the forefront. We have to literally, Al Gore was right. And, we could have had Al Gore instead of George Bush. So I'll just leave those thoughts with you. Maybe Mitt the Republican is our man. So, but I have more predictions, so stay tuned.